Hello, this is Alaina Chan, and today I'm going to use watercolors in my Amazon coloring book. I definitely forgot to put down the plexi or synthetic page protector on the other side, so you did see me open up the book, put it in, and then close it again. I do want to see how the page handles the art supplies, but I don't want to ruin the art on the next page so that I can color that as well. So this is Zarina the fairy. If you saw my previous post, that is a fairy that I created based on an Instagram audio that was like, create your own fairy OC or something like that. So this page is based off of a Huevember drawing that I did previously. They were all Art Nouveau style. And for the most part, Zarina is orange with like some accents of pink. I decided to go in and just color it the way that I think I would have if I wasn't going to focus on one color. So I start off with a lot of browns and oranges first because I knew for sure that I wanted those to be down on the page. And then I went into other colors like yellow and green and pink to add in some extra color so that it didn't look all the same. I definitely tried to use the wet paint to add a little bit of gradient to her hair because her hair color is based off of a sunflower. So I wanted the tips of her hair, like her bangs and the bottom half of her hair, to be darker than the rest of her hair. And I was really enjoying how the watercolors were adding a natural gradient. There were some spots where I wanted the color to stay more flat, so I think I do need to work with watercolors a little bit more to try and do that in the future. I did use the same paintbrush through the whole thing. I think there were some spots where if I had a smaller paintbrush tip or a larger paintbrush tip, some of it would have been easier. But besides that, I think I was able to stay within the lines the best that I could. Although I have always been a little bit messy with any art supply and not fully being able to stay in the lines. I was surprised that the paper didn't give out or give up while I was putting all of this water onto it. This is definitely not watercolor paper, so I wouldn't load the paper with water for sure, but I think it did handle the watercolors with the amount of water that I used fairly well. The paper did wrinkle, as most paper will when you put some water on it, but I think overall it held the color really well and it held the water really well. I definitely jump around a lot in this image because I'm trying to not overlap colors and have one color get taken away or get smudged into another color because I knew that that was definitely going to happen at some points if I didn't wait long enough for the paint to dry. Overall, the paint did dry fairly quickly. As I said, I wasn't using a ton of water, but there were some spots where I definitely should have waited longer before I added more colors. And part of that is definitely my bad because I gave myself one painting session for the most part to do this whole thing. I was able to paint it all in one setting. Whether or not I should do that with watercolors, though, is a whole nother problem. So I definitely would not suggest doing the whole page in one go if you're going to use watercolors. Learn from my mistakes, don't copy them. I think if I did this again, I would want the green in the background to be a little more pale to go with the rest of the aesthetics of the page and the rest of the colors that I used. But I think overall it was fun to put down different colors than I did in the original drawing because the original drawing was based on a yellow-orange color or an orange-yellow color. And I think it did end up looking very blended together and it was a little harder to see all of the details. I think it's really difficult to make a piece look really dimensional and full when you're using just one color. I think you have to go through the range of that color from dark to light and try and really maximize putting those different shades together so that you can make it look super dimensional. These stems of the sunflowers that she's holding, I wish that I did have a much smaller brush to work with to stay in the lines for this part of the painting. But I think overall it wasn't too messy, but there definitely were some spots where if I had had a smaller paintbrush tip, it would have been way more helpful. I feel like the color I'm using on the dress is very much the kind of color that I originally used when I was creating Zarina, and I really loved painting the dress this color for this illustration. It's a nice contrasting neutral pink color that I think goes really well with her gray skin tone. I love that Zarina's skin is gray. I think that I should do skin tones like this more often where they're very neutral looking. And I don't mean like the normal range of skin colors. I mean like doing gray or black or white, something like that. I really love this pan of watercolors. I got it as a gift and it's not branded anywhere, so I assume it was purchased off of Amazon or something. I wish I knew what the brand was, but I really enjoy the different colors, especially as someone who's not super great at mixing colors and I don't have a lot of practice in it. So it's nice to be able to look at the color and just go, oh, I want something that's in this shade, and being able to just put it down on the page without having to mix the colors too much. I did notice that Zarina's face was a little paler than I wanted it to be. And then after painting it, I was like, oh, I'll work on the eyes. And that was very silly. I did fix it a little bit. I don't think it fully was recovered, but I just kept going and hoped for the best. So like I said, don't do this coloring page all at once if you're going to use watercolor. And if you're like me and impatient, that's not a good idea. In college, I remember for one of my art classes that the professor wanted us to pick a theme and kind of develop it and create a bunch of art throughout the year that went with that theme. And I ended up picking colored pencils as my medium that I wanted to use for the traditional art. But the professor suggested that for large areas, I should use watercolor and then go over smaller areas with the colored pencils to add more dimension. I definitely want to try some mixed media in this coloring book, but I think I'll stick with one coloring supply at a time for now, and then later on down the road, I will definitely try to put 2 different or maybe even 3 different coloring supplies down at once. I think next I want to use my Posca markers and see how it handles the acrylic coming out of a marker, because I know that those markers definitely eat up the page. So I'm hoping it doesn't fully destroy everything, and there are some spots where, as you can see, my art can get really thin and small with the line art, where I might have to use a paintbrush with those colors to make sure that I don't fully block out everything that I put down to color. Overall, I've been having so much fun trying out different art supplies that I own in this coloring book, and I love being able to focus on one supply at a time in this coloring book. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me watercolor, and definitely comment down below if you were drawing with me while you were watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!